Is it on? Okay. So, hello to my future self, to anyone else that sees this diary. This is part of my Roots project. This is a part of a transcript. My answers are going to be written down as well. So, for whoever sees this, you'll have a transcript of what I'll say because sometimes I'll go off on a tangent and I'll just be reading off my answers and giving just everything, you know. I mentioned this is unscripted, so big pardon me if I do get off on a tangent once in a while. So I think for the most important thing to understand where everyone comes from is to understand our own past. So if I have not introduced myself, my name is Connor Carr. I am 23 years old. I was born on December 26, 1996 in San Diego, California. For me, I've had the fortune to grow up in a very friendly, secure neighborhood. I live in the Point Loma area. Having grown up here has profoundly impacted me on the things I've had in my life to grow up with. I would say having both my mother and father loving and supporting me has definitely shaped me into who I am today. But for me, it's also made me aware of things that others don't have. And I've always strived to give people the benefit of doubt, never to use my experiences to judge on someone else. So for me, my mentors in my life have been both my father and my maternal grandfather. So my dad was born in a big family. He was the oldest of 6. And for him, my mother was also the oldest. And pretty much everyone in my family has been the oldest. So it's kind of a funny trend because I'm the oldest of my family as well. But just he had to learn to take care of his brothers and his sister while living in a very low income housing. And for him, he spun a bad situation in his life and he made a career of it in the United States military. My grandfather, he was in the Coast Guard for 7-8 years, and he has worked his entire life, and he still works to this day. He is 74 years old, and he's still working. It just amazes me to see him still doing it, just for 2 reasons. One, he loves to work. If you met him, he can't stay still. He loves working. He loves doing stuff. And but to see him doing that, working in construction still at age 74 is amazing. Some of the most important events that have really shaped me is when my father had to go away from military during his deployments. I would think some of them were when he went for 13 months when I was right after I was born to Bosnia. He saw me, I was only 2 months. Next thing you know, I started walking and blabbing. So, that was really big for him. 2004 when he went to Afghanistan for 12 months. And as more recently, 10 years ago, from 2010 to 2011, he was on deployment. And for me, I had to learn very quickly to grow up and not only to take care of my mother and help her out, but also be an older sibling for my younger brother. So, when talking about challenges that my family and I have faced, I think first of my mom and dad. They were both in very low-income households, and they had to work extremely hard to where they are now to live in a nice neighborhood in Point Loma. So they weren't born into it. They had to get to where they are now, And in terms of race stuff, because I know some people will bring it up, my dad is half white and half Filipino. So from him growing up he was born in 1958, from the 60s and 70s during Vietnam, people would use slang such as Ho Chi Minh, and he was a very short person in stature. So he had to deal with bullying every single day, and he had to learn to toughen up and protect his brothers and sisters. And my mom, she grew up and she still deals with it. She has scoliosis. She had to wear a body cast from age 5 to age 14. And so she was bullied about that all the time, And for me, myself, I still have it. It's not as big as it is used to be. I have what's called sensory processing disorder. So for me, when I was at the young age, just, the five senses, for me, it was hearing. Loud noises, like I would close my ears like this, and it was very hard to learn and function in a society. So for me, for all these things, I try not to dwell on it too long, but just trying to work through all that stuff. I think for me, my mom and my dad just were profoundly into shaping who we are. So for me, I got interested in social change because of this, from being an outcast sometimes, I'd always try to strive and help people that, no one wanted to talk to. I try to make them feel comfortable. And being as a military kid, I had the fortune, my dad was a reservist, so we didn't have to move around. But for a lot of people that I knew were military, they had to move constantly, so I try to be their friend as much as I can and helping them deal with having their parents being gone for long periods of time. So for me, the meaning of life is to help it change, not just for yourself, but and your family, but also for others. There's only so much time in your life in this world that we have on this planet to make changes that can affect the rest of the world for generations to come, I just find it essential and vital for human survival. The individual and the self, they go in hand. I think I'm in the firm belief that you have to take care of yourself before you can help others. And just there's so many points in time when it can be challenging to deal with. Just having family, friends, just any type of support system that can help you out, especially for me, has helped me into developing into a better person. And it has to do with religion. I know not everybody's religious. And for me, myself, I question my religion sometimes. I'm a Catholic. I'm not a practicing. I don't go to church all the time. I'll go on Saturdays with my family, but when I was younger, those principles of being a good neighbor, helping others, they just helped shaped. That's another thing that helped shape into me. So for a college, in my opinion, it's a route to learn more about yourself and others and prepare yourself for what the world may have for you, I don't believe college is the only option. For some people, college isn't an option. I had a cousin who's going through that phase right now, and I went through that phase for a little bit where, I wasn't sure about my future, if college was right for me. Right now, he's working, and he's getting ready to go back in, and I'm grateful that I was able to try and help him out on his path, and he's been able to help me on my path. But for some who can, they can do it, they can. Like I just said, college has shown the best and worst of me and what I need to do and what I need to do. For me, when I graduate from University of San Diego, I want to be able to have that degree with me to feel that sense of accomplishment and and be in a career that I love, That's what everyone in college wants, As Einstein would put it, try not to become a man of success, but just rather try to become a man of value. And I want to bring value to myself, but to others as well. When I talk about screw-ups, I don't like to try and dwell on it too much, but I will talk about it to not only who views this, but to myself, I've nearly dropped out of school twice already. I've had couple semesters with bad grades, and it was just so many points, and it had to do with trying to do military too and juggling with school life. My mental health had deteriorated so much, and there was points when I comfortably was thinking about suicide. I don't talk about it much with my family. I talk about it with my therapist a lot. I've screwed up a lot of chances for some careers, like military. But it was due to a condition that I was not aware of for my mental health and physical health. But for all these screw ups, I can't dwell on it forever. I'm not a person who tries to dwell on the past to, negatively impact myself. Do I wish these things changed for me? Absolutely. But what is has already happened. But I try spin on it. I try to keep moving forward and try and find the next best thing for myself and others. Now I want to talk about the present. Step away from the past for a little bit. So when I think about the things that make me the happiest in my life, I think about my family, my mom and my dad, my brother, being an older sibling, having a fantastic girlfriend who I've been dating for, it'll be 3 years in November. Just having that support system, but also just being a fan of baseball, having that as something to go along with, I'll talk about in a minute, but just having the close-knit support system, they've helped me on my highest points and my lowest points. And going back to baseball, when I want to take my mind off things, I love watching the game, I love analyzing it, I love playing it, both on video games and played it in high school in my life. I just think about all these things, and they just help me motivate to become the best version of myself that I want to be. I would say my signature strengths are being open-minded, trying to be practical with everyday life, being goal-focused, and also just thinking about just my signature strengths is just trying to be positive as much as I can. So the values that I have is just being a family person. I'm a strong believer in family, but just not blood related. Sometimes family can come in many forms, I've seen. And for me, my girlfriend's family, they're very close with me. They've helped me out through a lot of stuff, and they've been a very profound, just helping others and learning as much as possible. Those are values I firmly believe in. I would say I've consistently lived up to these values. Never let anyone change it. Even sometimes my own family, challenges me. There's some things I don't agree with them on that I used to agree with them with. My identity has, I would say 5 years ago from now, it has definitely changed. So I've tried to get myself out of that comfort zone a little bit, try and learn some new stuff or learn new things, And in terms of identities, I try not to label myself with identities. Even in high school, I try not to be associated with one group. I never want to be, I want to be my identity to be my own identity, not some label. But some identities I've identified with is being a traditionalist, being ideal, being an idealist, and trying to be in team leading focus, trying to be a leader, not trying to boss people around, but just to help guide people. So for privilege, I think just growing up in this neighborhood has definitely helped me. Going to a high school with a big melting, I know it's an outdated phrase, but a melting pot of people. I've met a lot of people in my life that were different from me, that had different backgrounds, but I never thought of it much. Looking back now, I can see, but I always try to be friends with everyone. Try and give people the benefit of the doubt. So, for privilege, yeah, I could see myself living in this neighborhood. It is a privilege, but I never let that dictate myself and who I am. So, when I think of my negatives, I would say there's points where I do get into a depression. Life can get hard, and I've had anger issues because of being an outcast sometimes and trying to learn stuff. And because of my goal mindset nature, sometimes it can get in the way of it can hurt some people. I've lost a couple friendships because of that. I wish I can take it back, but like I've said before, I just have to keep going forward and try and improve myself. The person I would say, there's so many people I want to be grateful for. if I had to say who I'm grateful for, it's be my girlfriend. This is the Coral. That's her name. Her name's Coral Geyer. Her and I have known each other for a very long time. We've known each other since we were 10. We, I didn't think about it much. Then we connected back in high school. We were just friends. There was a lot of times where I wanted her to be more than a friend, but she was dating somebody. They were dating for 4 years. And then we reconnected when I was at my low point. I just want to say thank you, Cole. You have definitely changed me in the best ways I can. You've pushed me to be the best version I can be. That there is definitely more out there. And my wish is to continually make you happy. To be the best version. And I just hope we can stay together forever. So for me, I want to work on my anger. Just that temper, it has hindered me most of my life. It still does today. Even my family knows sometimes I can be a hardhead. It's good and bad, but I'm aware of it, and I've definitely tried over these last few years to work on that the best, and just try not to be a loner. Because there's points where I try to be alone, I try to solve my own problems, and it doesn't help me. So that's something that I continue to work on to this very day. Now, speaking about the present, let's talk about the future. When I think about some 3 scenarios, these are the things, like 10 years from now, that I wish to see. The most ideal one is that I'm married. I have 2 kids already. This is after traveling and all that. I want to live in San Diego and be working in my dream job in the sports world, baseball, My second from 10 years from now, I'd say I'm being married. I don't have kids yet, but I'm traveling the world because Coral loves to travel. I'm not as keen on it sometimes, but she pushes me to be out of my comfort zone, and I do like that. She is definitely more of an extrovert than I am. Maybe that's why I'm into her. I'm doing a video right now. Sorry. I'm doing a video. I'm sorry. Sorry, that was my mom. She was checking in on me. So, where was I? Oh, just traveling. Just seeing new places, seeing new ideas and everything. So that's my second scenario. My third scenario is just I like to do broadcast stuff too. So if the business side of baseball doesn't work, I think I have a good voice in the broadcasting world, maybe voice for the Padres, because I live close to Petco, just with my significant other. So for me, when I chose, I thought about my funeral, death, not to get overly morbid, things I like to imagine, I just have not too many people around, but just have a close net of people that have really impacted me. And I want people to remember me for how hardworking I was. Just that I never gave up on anyone. And I always try to help others with their struggles. That I want to be someone who created a great relationship with them. And I would be getting along with pretty quickly. That, in my lifetime, that I just made huge impacts for people for the better. And I hope, maybe there's more people like me out there. So, in a mission statement, I would say, for myself, and for anyone who wants to follow this, through the best and worst times, I'll always be sure that I am in a place where I can succeed. Once then, I will ensure that those I cherish the most are both secured and taken care of. I always try to bring value, hard work, and positivity to everything I love and admire. I always have faith in things such as God, my family, and friends, and that I'll always be true to myself. So for this video, if it ever gets seen by anyone else, if I see it 10 years from now, I just hope I continue that promise for everyone, for just myself and everybody else. This is the ending to my Roots and Roots transcript. You could find the document listed with it. Hopefully this video gets finalized and gets saved. And thank you for listening. I hope to talk with you soon.